Hey, it's Jordan, pro makeup artist here in LA, and I'm here to help. Today's question comes from Britney. Britney asked, primer, is it necessary? Also, which one is your favorite? Well, let's get right into it. When it comes to primer, I really think of it as more of a tool. There's lots of camps that want to say, primer is a gimmick, we don't need primer, or it's a crime not to prime. But realistically, primer is a tool, just like a hammer or a screwdriver. There's times when you might use it, there's times when you might need it, there's times when you don't. And people have their different preferences on how to get the same thing done. Personally, as a professional makeup artist, I reach for primer probably about 10% of the time. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of primers. One pro is primer can definitely extend the wear of your makeup. It acts like sort of a glue that your makeup sticks to, and it can really just make it, at least help it to last throughout the day. Second thing is, primer can be something that helps smooth out texture. So if you're someone who has a lot of texture on your skin, something that just helps everything to go on a little bit smoother or fill in some of those areas. The other benefit is it can sort of act like a barrier between your skincare and your makeup. Let's say you're using all your fancy Chanel serums and your La Mer cream. You put on your primer and it will sort of seal it all in. That's sitting underneath, and then you put your makeup on top. Your makeup sits on top of the primer. So you kind of have this protective layer over your skincare, so that's doing its job and your makeup's just sitting on top. All good things, right? That said, there can be some cons. First, and the biggest reason that I don't reach for it as much is because every layer of product that you put on your skin is a layer of texture, right? So it's gonna look like you're wearing makeup more. I know that kind of contradicts with what I said about smoothing, but this is a reality of wearing makeup. Every layer adds texture. So when I want someone to look like they're not wearing any makeup, I want to use the least amount of layers, the least amount of product, the thinnest layers to give them that natural beauty. So there's lots of different kinds of primers, right? You have your silicone primers, you have your water-based primers. Not every primer reacts well with every makeup. So if you have a primer and you have a makeup that doesn't mix well with it, it is disaster. When I tell you that like it could be so bad, like everything can ball up, it can break apart, it can just look like cakey as fuck. It can just be a really bad time if you have the wrong combination. And that means that you are supposed to know what goes with what, which can be a whole journey in itself. The other thing is the amount of primer you use as far as cons go. So let's say you do find the perfect primer for you and it goes well with all your makeup and your skin likes it, it does what you want, but you're using way too much primer. I see this so much on YouTube videos of content creators who are not professional makeup artists. They slather on these thick, heavy layers of primer. That's gonna create so much texture. It's just gonna look bad. It's a problem. That's fine if you're doing drag and you're going to like do a full character makeup. That's a different style. But for any kind of beauty makeup, you really just want to use like a key size that can spread. You can spread it really far all over your face. The minute you start to use too much, you're gonna create texture and it's gonna look bad. When you're thinking about primer as it relates with the rest of your makeup, it's kind of like baking a cake. All the ingredients have to fit together the right way to get the effect that you want. So yeah, those are the pros and cons. Now, Britney was asking for some recommendations, so I'll tell you what I do love when I do reach for primer. Now the first one, it's actually not a primer. but that's what I use it for. And it's called Laura Mercier Secret Finish Mattifying. Now, make sure it's the mattifying version. Now, what they actually make this product for is for you to sort of warm it on your fingers and press it on top of your makeup instead of touching up with powder. So it absorbs oil, it mattifies, and it has this amazing smoothing effect. So you can use it for that, but I love to use it as primer. And I go to this when someone has a lot of texture, or if I'm gonna use like only powdered foundation. That's one thing to note. So like silicone-based primers, if they feel kind of thick and sort of silky feeling, it's probably silicone-based. Those play well with powder. So if you're someone who wants to go with straight powder foundation, that's gonna play well together. But in general, it's gonna help keep you matte. It definitely extends the wear of the makeup by 1000%. It's thick, so it's really good for filling in texture. Now the other one I love is from Nars, and it's called the Radiance Primer. And the reason I love this is actually a water-based primer. And water-based primers in general are my go-to. If I'm recommending you use a primer, I'm probably going to recommend usually a water-based, just because A, they play well with a lot of things. It's a lot easier to just have a bunch of different kinds of makeup and just know that your water-based primer is going to work for it, right? Because the silicone ones tend to react more often. It's super lightweight, lets your skin breathe. You're not gonna feel like you have another layer of makeup on. Doesn't add a lot of texture. And the best part is that it has this glow to it. It's like this fairy dust radiance. So you put it on and it kind of gives you this brightness to your skin, and you will look like a little bit like you're in Twilight. But then you put your makeup on top and it glows through just a bit, and you get this sort of lit from within look. And it's just really beautiful. Anything that's a radiance primer I love, but Nars always does things the best. I believe the new formula, I think, even has like an SPF 30 in it. So, I mean, what else do you want? Primer is a tool. There are pros and cons. You want to make sure that your primer is the right formula for your makeup routine. Look to Laura Mercier and Nars for the best primers, in my personal opinion. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.